It is the 11th of March 2014. Many thanks for joining us on Ebru African News this afternoon. I'm Kamene, Goro, and we start off our bulletin yet again with a contentious missing Malaysian Airlines plane. Now, authorities searching for the missing plane have widened their search amid increasing frustration from passengers' families. Now, search teams had expanded their scope to the Straits of Malacca, according to Malaysia Airlines.
A massive search and rescue operation enters its fourth day for a missing Malaysia Airlines jetliner. Ships and aircraft from 10 countries scour the waters off Malaysia and Vietnam, but none of the debris or oil slicks spotted earlier has proved to be linked to the disappearance.
On the oil slick that was found by the Maritime Enforcement Agency of Malaysia, they have sent the samples to the chemistry department today, and we have got the report from the chemistry department of Malaysia. They have reported that they have confirmed that the oil are not from an aircraft.
Malaysia's civil aviation chief says the search area has been doubled since flight MH370 vanished on Saturday, shortly after it left Kuala Lumpur. The focus has been on 2 passengers who boarded the flight using stolen European passports.
Features of those 2 passengers, we have looked and relooked at the footage of the video and the photograph. It is confirmed now that they are not Asian-looking male.
As the search continues, investigators are looking at all angles, including a possible terror attack or hijacking. The fate of the Beijing-bound aircraft and the 239 people on board is still shrouded in mystery.
Moving to Africa, more than 1,000 people have protested in South Sudan's capital, Juba, accusing the United Nations of arming rebels. Now, the government recently said its troop had intercepted weapons in a UN convoy marked as carrying food. The UN, on the other hand, denied the arms were destined for rebels, but acknowledged that it made a mistake by transporting them by road.
The latest incident will increase government animosity towards the UN mission in South Sudan known as UNMISS. In January, South Sudan President Salva Kiir accused the UN of running a parallel government in his country, a charge it denied. Protesters demanded the resignation of UN South Sudan Special Representative Hilda Johnson at the rally addressed by top government officials. UN will now send a high-level team to South Sudan to carry out a joint investigation with the government into the incident. The UN acknowledged that it had reached an agreement with the government when it transported weapons by road rather than by air. Government troops intercepted the weapons in Rumbek, the capital of Lakes City, as they were being transported to Bentiu, the capital of Unity State. The weapons were for Ghanaian troops who had arrived in South Sudan to join the UNMISS forces and not for rebel forces. In December, fighting broke out between troops loyal to President Salva Kiir and his sacked Deputy President Riek Machar, forcing some 860,000 people to flee their homes. A ceasefire was agreed between the 2 sides towards the end of January, but they have accused each other of violating it. Peace talks hosted by Ethiopia are currently suspended and are expected to resume on the 20th of March.
In North Africa, Libya has stopped a North Korean flagged tanker that had loaded oil from a rebel-held port after naval forces briefly exchanged fire with the rebels. But on a contradictory note, the rebel leader Ibrahim Jathran denied in a televised statement broadcast from a ship that he had lost control of the oil tanker.
Libyan Culture Minister and government spokesman Habib Al-Aman said the authorities were in control of the vessels which were halted after rebels exchanged fire with naval forces.
They tried 2 hours ago to start clashes and fire towards our naval forces. We responded to these and they stopped. The ship is now completely secured by the Navy, and we expect at any moment that it will be able to leave.
The conflict over oil wealth is increasing fears that the OPEC producer may slide deeper into chaos or even splinter as the fragile government fails to rein in dozens of militia that helped oust Muammar Gaddafi in 2011 but now defy state authority. The rebels, who have seized 3 ports and partly control the 4th port, are said to have dispatched forces to central Libya to deal with any government attack. Libyan officials said the government will assemble forces to liberate all occupied ports, raising the stakes over a blockade that has cut off vital oil revenue. The rebels, made up of oil security guards, said they had sent forces by land and sea to central Libya to confront any government attackers.
In Asia, Japan today marks the 3rd anniversary of the quake tsunami disaster, which swept away 18,000 victims, destroyed coastal communities, and sparked a nuclear emergency that forced a rethink on atomic power. Remembrance ceremonies will be held in towns and cities around the disaster zone and in the capital, Tokyo, where Emperor Akihito and Empress Michiko are to lead tributes to those who lost their lives in Japan's worst peacetime disaster.
As Japan marks the 3rd anniversary of the quake tsunami disaster, many local governments will switch on a tsunami alarm siren, marking the exact moment the 9.0 magnitude undersea quake hit. Its raw force unleashed a towering tsunami that traveled at the speed of jet plane to the coast within minutes. Communities were turned to marshoots as whole communities drowned. Waves also crashed in the Fukushima nuclear plant, sparking reactor meltdowns and explosions and setting off the worst atomic crisis in a generation. The crippled plant remains volatile, and experts say the complicated decommissioning process will take decades as fears persist over the long-term health effects of leaked radiation. The accident forced tens of thousands to flee from areas around the shattered site.
I would like the citizens of Nami to be able to come back and live here. It's hard to tell when it will be possible, but it's our goal.
Although no one died as a direct result of the Fukushima, about 1,650 area residents died from complications related to stress and other problems following the accident. A total of 15,884 people also confirmed to have died in the tsunami, while another 2,633 still listed as missing. Searchers still find human remains. Despite the government pledging billions of dollars in reconstruction aid, progress in disaster-hit regions has been slow, and thousands of disaster refugees struggle to cope.
It's impossible to come back with that plant nearby. The decommissioning is going to take years and years.
Amongst almost 270,000 evacuees from the tsunami and Fukushima, about 100,000 are in temporary housing, while others found shelter in new cities or with relatives.
Our parents are still missing. I don't think we will ever find them, but we came here to take part to the search because we felt like doing something to help.
Japan has so far built only 3.5% of new homes promised disaster refugees in heavily affected Iwate and Miyagi prefectures.
Let's look at a little history. Stalin deported Crimea's Tatar population to the eastern USSR at the end of the Second World War, accusing the ethnicity of collaboration with the Nazis. Now the minority Muslim population that returned to their homeland fear once again discrimination as the region heads towards a referendum that could see it cede to Russia.
Babachura is 82 and one of the minority Muslim Tatar population in Crimea. She was born here, but like all Tatars, was deported at the end of the Second World War to Eastern Soviet Union.
They threw us in the train. They told us to get out of here, and we spent 18 days in the train. They took us to Uzbekistan. On the way, many people died. Many were thrown from the train. It was horrible. I was only 11 years old. We were hungry. We were so cold. That's how we left.
Stalin accused the ethnicity of collaborating with the Nazis. It was 55 years before she made it home, a life of exile and stigmatization experienced by many here. The Tatar community today numbers about 12% of the Crimean population. Now the group fears the region will once again become part of Russia. They plan to boycott the referendum in mid-March, which they view as illegal. a sentiment that is widely felt at this mosque in the Crimean capital, Simferopol. Many feel they're scapegoats of this conflict and fear forced assimilation if Crimea falls into Russian hands.
The Tatars of Crimea are persecuted because we are Muslim. And what's worse, the Russian radical politicians dream that Russia will become 100% Russian without any other representatives of other nationalities.
Now the Tatars must wait for the results of the referendum. But whatever happens, these people say they won't leave. They are determined never to be forced from their homeland again.
Moving to South America, in the past month, waves of protests have swept Venezuela, leaving 20 people dead. Plaza Altamira, one of the richest neighborhoods in Caracas, has turned into a battlefield. Anti-government student groups have been building barricades and fighting the police here, honing their skills through watching internet videos of clashes in places like Ukraine and Egypt.
This may look like a battlefield, but it's one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas. Anti-government protests around Plaza Altamira have seen fierce clashes between protesters and police, with barricades demarcating combat zones.
We've come here to fight. We haven't come here to speak with the police, because here the police officers are the first ones who turn their backs on you and start firing bird shots at you.
Altamira is a symbol for the opposition in Venezuela. After the failed coup against late President Hugo Chavez in 2002, military men used the plaza as their base. Now, the protesters are civilians, students especially. They are demonstrating against shortages of basic goods and insecurity. For many of these students, it's the first time they have taken to the streets.
En mi caso, tengo un hermano muerto debido a la violencia de este país.
In my case, my brother was killed by the violence in this country, by the delinquency, by the lack of justice and policies. These are some of the reasons for which I come here, and it gives me strength to fight this failing government.
The protesters are more organized every day, armed with Molotov cocktails and stones. Some find inspiration from internet videos of the protests in Egypt and Ukraine and have learned to defend themselves with homemade weapons.
People bring ideas to make Molotov cocktails, bombs, all of this, or to build barricades with nails to burst the wheels of the motorcycles.
Protests in Venezuela started on February 4th after the attempted rape of a student in the city of San Cristobal. The ensuing unrest has been the greatest challenge to President Nicolás Maduro's year-long presidency and his left-wing government. As the night sets in, the fighting comes to an end, but the protesters say they will be back the next afternoon, ready for another day of Molotovs and tear gas.
We finalize our bulletin with matters Syria. President Bashar al-Assad is now on the offensive to regain territory from the opposition, which controls more areas in the country. Now, this comes even as diplomatic efforts by Russia and the USA have been directed to the Ukraine crisis.
As Syria's conflict enters its fourth year, ravaging the country and creating a massive humanitarian crisis, President Bashar has finally put his foot down and decided to reclaim the territories lost to the opposition. The territories, though not densely populated, have been under the opposition since February 2012, after the regime bombarded the central homes. This comes at a time when the opposition is more divided than ever, fighting both the regime and its former ally, the jihadist Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. Both rebels are engaged in a bloody battle against ISIL that began in January and shows no sign of ending. Despite its recent advances, experts say the regime lacks the manpower to retake all its lost territories. Experts believe the opposition numbers is around 100 to 150,000 fighters, among them between 10 to 20,000 foreign fighters. And the rebels, on the other hand, are believed to have an estimated 2,000 rebel battalions, with the Islamic Front coalition the most important. Some of the Syrian residents, however, feel that President Bashar should retain the majority of the territory and apply a scorched earth policy to the areas beyond his control, as he will never be able to restore all the country under his regime. The conflict, which began in March 2011 with peaceful anti-government protests that were brutally repressed, has led to the death of 140,000 people and displaced nearly half Syria's population.
That story wraps up our bulletin for you this afternoon. Join me at 9 p.m. for our primetime bulletin and more in-depth analysis on what's transpiring in our world today. I'm Kamene Goro. Do have yourself a lovely afternoon.
New Line Limited, your one-stop shop for elegant and comfortable office furniture. New Line responds to your expectations for office furniture in a modern language. We offer a 5-year warranty period including unit transfers within Nairobi. For more information, visit our showroom at Chester House, Lotus Street, Nairobi. New Line Limited, your success partner.
Floma, professional makeup.
Does your exterior complement your interior? Everyone needs a home that is inspired by nature. At Yenbo Limited, we offer durable, energy-efficient and affordable UPVC windows in attractive colors. Visit us at Wall Street Business Park off Mombasa Road. Yenbo UPVC windows, your desire, our challenge.
New Line Limited, we offer current, stylish, state-of-the-art kitchen and wardrobe appliances tailored to suit your preference. We offer unit transfers within Nairobi. Let your kitchen stand out today by visiting us at Chester House, Lotus Street. Your comfort and satisfaction comes first.
Floma, professional makeup.